So it's just the idea that I think, well, harm is mainly counterfactual. Although maybe there are like other senses of harm that are also valid. But all of them are going to be captured in some counterfactual way.
What do you mean when you say
And like the
counterfactual?
idea, you would have been better off had this not been done.
So like in an instance where like say I run up to you and like I puncture your lung or something, right? But if I didn't puncture your lung, then you would have died by heart attack. You think that like I didn't harm you there, or like since you would have been better off anyway, you still would have died. So
I mean, we have to like clarify the time, right? It's like maybe like a clear example with this. Let's say that I slap somebody, right? For example, so I slap them, and then are you saying like if I chose not to slap them, they would have been sniped or
yeah,
something?
like in the same
Um,
instance, yeah.
so me slapping them is stopping them from having a greater
No, no, no,
harm.
no, no. Like if you didn't slap them, right? Then the other harm would have happened, right? So like, or imagine both of these actions that are done. Say like I run up to you and shoot you in the head, but if I didn't run up to you and shoot you in the head, you'd have been sniped, right? Do you think that like under that instance I didn't harm you?
Um, well, like perhaps you're harmed in the sense that your action directly led to an instance where you're not better off,
I mean, but
right? So
like
I think you're probably harmed.
but they wouldn't have been better off otherwise. So
It wouldn't have been better off if the action itself had not been performed.
yeah, like because obviously they would have died otherwise. So like obviously they wouldn't have been better off otherwise, right?
Maybe you could define the condition an exclusion to external circumstances. But even then, I really said like I don't mind there being other senses of harm. I think
Yes.
that most
So
of
is it
these
just
senses are
like
going to be
the fetus is more harmed by abortion than the mother?
no. It's just the idea that I think harm that's unjustified is wrong, and then if
Uh, uh,
abortion is unjustified, therefore it's wrong. I think it's pretty
yeah.
simple.
I mean, well, when you say justified, what do you mean? Like, do you not think the mother say protecting her bodily autonomy, right, or protecting her own like mental well-being? Do you not think that's justification for harm or something?
Well, for like the bodily autonomy stuff, bodily autonomy is a right attributed to humans, and the fetus is a human, so presumably the fetus also has bodily autonomy that
Yeah,
should
but
be
like I'm
respected.
saying, don't you think you have the right to like say, override somebody else's bodily autonomy, right? If it is to protect your own. So like imagine some guy runs
No,
into your house. Okay, so like imagine some guy runs into your house, and they are trying to stab you. Alright, but so I killed the guy to stop him from stabbing me. I violated his bodily autonomy to protect my own. Right, and I don't think most people would say that's wrong, no?
I think there needs to be like a clarification. So like obviously, like in cases of self-defense, it would be the case that people lose the rights that they have, right? So like if you're
Yeah,
trying to attack somebody, right, and you're trying to violate other people's bodily autonomy, that's obviously I'm a deontologist, right? So that you could, all of my moral beliefs come from like rules and imperatives.
yeah.
So like in the case that you're giving, where somebody else is trying to violate your bodily autonomy, you could construct a rule that's like, do not allow others to violate the bodily autonomy of others, right? So,
Yeah.
don't stand idly by while others have their bodily autonomy violated.
So do you
Um,
not think like okay in the case of like abortion like that would also apply under the rule like do you not allow this fetus to violate the mother's bodily autonomy, right? And I mean you could say that's like up until a certain extent like obviously if say the fetus being wouldn't if like you aborted the fetus the like you would experience infinite amounts of harm, but I'm just unconvinced that specifically like not having the abortion would what's it called would cause such an extent of harm that would override the like right that the mother has.
I mean, like, I'm unclear on what's being said. So, I mean, if what you're trying to say to me is like the fetus is violating the mother's bodily autonomy or something,
Yeah.
I mean, we're just gonna have to get like an account of like what you mean when you say violate, because I take actions to be rational. and like the fetus obviously doesn't have a mind. So I don't think the fetus is like choosing to do anything.
Yeah,
And like obviously like
I don't think it's choosing to, but I think its presence does violate it. So like imagine what's it called? Imagine somebody was born, or like there's like a grown man and he came into existence with his fist in a lung, right? And say it's non-fatal, but the discomfort that's incurred is like equal to the amount that's like incurred by pregnancy, right? Obviously, even though that person came into like the world with his fist in your lung, the sort of justification I'd have for like removing this guy from my body is like, okay, well I don't want him there, and I have the right to like self-govern my own body, right?
I mean, like, there are like a couple differences. Like one of the differences would be that pregnancy is a choice most of the time. So like in exclusion of like things like rape, people choose to have sexual intercourse, and then obviously like for the most part, people are aware that sexual intercourse can lead to pregnancy.
Yeah,
And so
sure.
it's not as if
I
it's not
mean,
like a baby just falls into somebody's stomach and then now they're choosing to have the baby removed. It's more like, you know, I did an action, and I knew that there was a chance that a baby could come, and now that the baby is here, I want to remove the baby,
yeah.
even though my actions led to this happening.
I mean, it's like okay, in the same sort of you can apply that to literally anything. Though, like say, for example, I want to go to the club because the club is really pleasurable for me, and through I know that like through going to the club, there is actually a chance for me to like say get hit by a car, for like a rock to fall on my head, right? Or like what's it called? For me to get molested, right? But just because I acknowledge that there is a chance for that, doesn't
No, that's
specifically
different.
mean like hold on, doesn't specifically mean that I should like be held liable for the consequence. Especially when most pregnancies come about even when like contraception is being used.
Yes, I mean, like that's obviously different. In one case that we're speaking of, you know, the choice is directly linked to the effect, such that if the choice does not happen, then the effect does not happen. But in your case, the agent isn't responsible. What's responsible is the person that hits them with the car, and that you could just substitute this for any sort of external situation. If I go outside, I could be kidnapped, right? Am I responsible for being kidnapped because I went outside? No. Was I kidnapped because I went outside? No. I was kidnapped because it's the case that somebody else decided to use their free will and autonomy to
Okay,
violate my own.
imagine some scenario where like okay, if you do not go outside, then this possibility will not occur, right? So do you
It
think that
doesn't
under that,
matter.
what'd you say?
That doesn't matter.
Well, okay, wait. So what's the relevant symmetry breaker there?
So like the idea is like the reason that grounds, right, why you were kidnapped, why you were hit by the car is not your own action, but the thing that makes that thing happen is the fact that somebody else used their free will to impose on your own free will.
I mean,
And
this goes into like lots of free will stuff. So like, you could just substitute the thing which is doing the harm onto you specifically to be say like any sort of non sentient sort of action. So again, they just take it like okay, well, me going outside. If I didn't go outside, I would have been hit by lightning. But because I went outside, I acknowledge that yeah, there is a chance for me to get hit by lightning. Right. However, like I also take preventative measures such that I don't get hit by lightning. Yet I do get hit by lightning anyway. I wouldn't say that you're responsible in any sort of sense for me getting hit, or like I'm responsible for getting hit by lightning. Right. Because again, I just don't take it that like simply acknowledging the possibility of this thing happening actually has anything to
is
do with
there
it.
I mean, look, you're acting like the agent is independent of the possibility. Look, a better example would be something like this. Suppose that I'm going to a party, right, and I could either wear like it's like a costume dress up party, and I could either wear like a metal suit, or I could wear like a rubber suit, right? And the metal suit is more expensive than the rubber suit, and so I want to kind of look expensive. I want to look cool, but I also acknowledge that if I wear this metal suit and I go outside, you know, there's a chance that I'll be struck by lightning. I wear the metal suit anyway, in spite of this possibility. I wear the metal suit anyway, and who would have known? Who would have guessed? Right? I do in fact get struck by lightning. I would say that in some sense you are partly responsible for being struck by
Yes,
the lightning.
in that sort of sense, okay, you are taking specifically the sort of action you want to take, right, is to go to the costume party, and the reason being is because it gives you pleasure, and you are actively taking measures such as like wearing a metal costume, which makes it more likely for this like sort of effect which you do not want, to happen. In the case of pregnancy, most of these terms are actually taken with contraceptives. So it would be an instance of, okay, I want to go to a costume party. I have the option of like wearing a metal suit or wearing a rubber suit, such that like if I go outside with a metal suit, the likelihood of me getting like hit by lightning is higher, right, compared to if I wear the rubber suit, but the likelihood is still, or like the chance is still there. I take measures to not get hit by lightning, yet I still get hit by lightning anyway. I wouldn't say I'm responsible for getting hit
No,
by
you
lightning.
really are
So wait,
responsible.
hold on. Well, I don't think I am responsible. Wait, okay. Do you think that like every single person then is like responsible for getting hit by lightning if they go out in a storm?
But I think every single person is responsible for if they get hit by lightning when they go out in the storm.
Wait, yeah. So you think they are responsible?
Partly, yeah, definitely, 100%.
Yeah, no, I don't. I
And
don't think most people would
you could
grant
just
that.
you could just replace the lightning example with like some like gambling example. I go to like a casino, let's say,
Uh-huh.
and I go to gamble, and let's say that I try my best to not get scammed, to not be rigged. So let's say I put in some measures like, I make sure that I have a friend that's watching to see if anybody is gonna like tamper with the materials or something. And then I do it, and like who would have guessed? Like I still lose my money anyway. I still get scammed anyway. I would say, look, I mean, sure, you put in these measures to ensure that you kept your money. You still lost your money though, and you lost your money because you decided to come to this gambling place and do this gambling stuff, and you acknowledge that there's a possibility you lost your money, and so I think that you're responsible. We
Wait,
hold gamblers responsible all the
hold
time.
on. Yeah, I don't think they are responsible for one, but like at least I don't think they're completely responsible. But I just need to get clear.
So,
So, do you also think that like say if I what's it called, that a woman would be responsible if she went outside with her friends, with a guy friend, right? She knows there's a possibility this guy could like turn on her and instantly start molesting her, right? And
yeah, I
she
think she's
takes
responsible.
measures. Wait, you think she's responsible?
100%. I think if you're going to a party with your friend as a woman, right, in like the bad part of town, and
No, no,
there's
no.
a
Imagine it's
possibility.
not a bad part of town. Imagine you're just going out with, like, say, your mom, right? And then, like, there's a possibility. Obviously, there's a possibility
You're
of your
who?
mom,
You're
like,
who?
shooting you in the head. Wait, hold on. So I imagine it's you. You're going out
I
with your.
didn't hear out. You're going out with who?
Yeah, okay, wait. Am I lagging out?
No, now you're not. Now you're clear. But you said you're going out with who?
Okay, so imagine you're going out with your parents, right? There's a possibility that your parents can actually like pew pew you in the head or something, right? And you take active measures to not do that, or like you've been taking measures your entire life to like be nice to your parent, like acting acting nicely towards them. Yet they go out and they still pew pew you in the head immediately you go outside. Do you think like then you're still responsible because you've acknowledged the possibility? I don't think they are,
No,
but
no, you're not.
wait,
No,
hold on. Okay,
that you just
before we get clear,
that's
when you say
completely different.
responsibility, what do you even mean?
Like most of the time, responsibility is understood as some
Voice
agent is
cracked.
responsible for an action. Yeah, some agent's responsible for an action, just in case, or not just in case, but like if and only if this action is a result of a free choice that they made, a rational choice that they made, and had they not made that choice, this thing would not have happened. Right? It's like they're the sole source of the action, they're the sole source of the outcome.
Okay, so do you also think that okay, if I say I'm sitting in my room right now, if I don't like what's it called, and they obviously the possibility of me like experiencing grape is like 0% if I self unalive, right? Or if I like kill myself or something. Right? I'm using TikTok like language, but if I kill myself, and then because I don't choose to kill myself, right? Somebody eventually like later down the line, later down the years, comes up to me and he actually molests me and rapes me. Do you think that now I'm responsible for experiencing getting raped? Like obviously nobody would say that I'm responsible for that. So like
No, that just didn't track the conditions I gave.
hold on, the conditions were like you are responsible if and only if like we repeat them.
You're the sole source of the action, right? And it's the case that if you had not taken the action, the outcome would not have occurred.
What do you mean when you say sole source of the action?
So when I say sole source of the action, I just mean that you are the only thing that contributed to the development of that action,
Well,
right?
okay, in
So,
pregnancy that like obviously isn't true because like you can't get pregnant on your own. So like trivially you need like more than two, you need more than one person. So they obviously aren't the sole source of like the state of affairs,
yeah,
which is pregnancy.
this is for people that are wholly responsible. I think in pregnancy you're partially responsible.
Okay, so you are wholly responsible if and only if you're the sole cause of the action, right?
Yeah,
And yeah, okay, and in partly responsible, you're part of the cause of the action, right?
Yeah,
So
I'm
you
not
would
going
say
to say to you.
like every single person who doesn't like say self who's been raped later down the line, who didn't self unalive at the moment in which like they were able of doing so, they are also partly responsible of getting raped, because first of all, for them to be or experiencing getting raped, because for them to be like to experience it, they would also need to be alive, which they do by choice. You would say they are responsible.
No, no, that's not. No, because you're being alive doesn't contribute to the action of being raped at all. You could be
No, no, no.
alive and not.
It contributes. That is why I said it contributes to the experience. You wouldn't be able to experience it without being raped. So, do you think everyone is like responsible for experiencing being raped?
I mean, I just take the action of being raped to be identical to
Experiencing it.
experience.
What'd you say?
Huh?
Wait,
I
okay.
just take those two.
Do you take those two to be identical?
No, no, I think that what like one is entailed by the other, unless you're talking about like unconscious people or something.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm just saying like rapes implicator doesn't entail like experience, but obviously, wait. So you would say that these people are actually what's it called? They are partially responsible, because if they didn't like kill themselves, they wouldn't have experienced being raped.
No, because when I'm saying contributing, I'm not talking about sole counterfactual dependency. Like, sure, maybe if I did kill myself, I would not be raped in the future. Perhaps that's true. And so by me not killing myself, me being raped is sort of counterfactually dependent on my choice in the past. But
Yep.
I don't think me being alive contributes to me being raped.
So when you say contributes, what does that mean?
Something that like counts in favor, I suppose. Something that,
I mean, well, okay,
is
under those sort of semantics, then it obviously does count in favor, because clearly, if you didn't do the action, the action, or if you didn't do this action, the other consequenting state of affairs would have occurred. So, like, obviously, it does count in favor, unless you mean like something else when you say it counts in favor.
yeah, like jointly, like maybe you can understand like jointly sufficient,
What'd you say?
jointly sufficient, or sufficient in a certain.
So wait, okay, when you say counts in favor, like, what are sort of sufficient conditions?
Like maybe if I'm talking about counting in favor of me acting, I think things that are sufficient for me acting count in favor of me acting. But maybe it's like another sense of count in favor. We're just talking about like things that support an action. That's not the sense I'm speaking of.
Wait, so hold on, wait, okay, let me write this down, because like maybe I didn't hear that
So
completely.
just understand that anything is sufficient for you being raped.
Anything that's sufficient for you be hold on, wait, so anything that's sufficient for you, okay, well, under that sort of view, I don't think like sex is sufficient for pregnancy. Like, hello.
I think it depends. I mean, if we take it to be the case,
I don't
like
wait. The sufficient conditions are, at least from how I understand them, are the sort of things which can depend. Like if the property is present, or say like if this property is present and the claim is true, right? But is it
yeah,
necessary for the claim to be true?
I already grant. I'm saying that it
Yeah,
depends because I agree that sex on its own is not sufficient for pregnancy. Like obviously, because you can have sex and not be pregnant. But I
yeah.
think sex paired with certain other biological factors and tendencies would be sufficient for pregnancy. And so then you have to ask the question of like, how is the agent responsible? Is the agent wholly responsible because they chose to have sex? No, not because sex
Hold on, I
alone is
mean,
not
well, when you
sufficient
say
for
like
pregnancy.
what's it called specifically
Uh-huh.
that what's it called? So for you to like be responsible, certain things need to count in favor of it. And by count in favor, you mean like that the action you did is sufficient for the event to
No,
occur.
no, no. I said sufficient or jointly sufficient.
Okay, sufficient or jointly sufficient for the event to occur. And when you say jointly sufficient, like what does that mean?
So
Like
like
it
this action,
combined
so
with
like
another set of
maybe
properties or something?
yeah, like maybe if I say something like you're a dummy to somebody, that might not be sufficient for him killing himself. But if I say you're a dummy and then someone else says you're a retard and someone else says you're broke, like all of those things might be jointly sufficient for the action. And I still say, given that your action was a member of this system of jointly sufficient actions, you're in some way responsible for the action
Yeah,
for
so like
killing
as
yourself.
long as you have some property which is like part of this other set of properties which are like in totality jointly sufficient, then you're responsible. But under that
Wait,
view,
wait,
I
wait.
don't understand how you escape like saying that people who don't or immediately self unalive are responsible self or kill themselves, sorry, are self are like specifically responsible, right? Partially responsible, because again, even though like it is a sufficient condition on its own, obviously it is jointly sufficient if you combine it with the fact that okay, so it's jointly sufficient insofar as like say other actions occur, and through these other actions occurring, right, then they all lead up to you getting raped. Like obviously like it
No,
is jointly sufficient in conjunction with these other actions, no?
no, because you could no. because once again, you could live and it would not lead to anything that would cause you to get raped, and you could even be dead and still get raped. So I'm not
Yeah,
clear.
okay, well, you obviously know what I mean, like, because you said specifically before that, like, you take rape and the experience to be the same. And I don't think that people can
No,
experience. Wait, okay, well, you
I
think,
said,
like, at least most of the time.
yeah, most of the time when people are raped, I think that they're
Yeah,
probably
that's what I'm
conscious of something.
referencing. Yeah, I'm referencing the majority of cases. So hold on, like, do you not also think that, like, say if like I can have sex and still like not get pregnant?
Sorry, repeat the question.
So like obviously you grant that I can have sex and not get pregnant. So under that view, right, if I can't have sex and not get pregnant, then like why is it the case that like one of these conditions or like having sex is jointly is sufficient enough such that you're partially responsible, but me not killing myself is not like sufficient such that I'm not partially responsible. Like what's the
I
trade
mean,
distinction?
like I'm just like sort of unclear on like what you're not getting. So in one case, you're
Uh huh.
saying, look, if you didn't kill yourself, then you wouldn't be raped. Or you let's actually be clear. If you didn't kill yourself, then you wouldn't experience being raped.
Yep.
But because you chose to live, in that sense, is what you're asking me, is in that sense, the production of you experiencing being raped in some way depends on you being alive. And so
Yes,
in that sense, you're
yes. The
responsible.
action of you experiencing being, or the state of affairs in which you experience being raped, is dependent on you being alive. Yeah. So
I'm not.
so.
I'm not. I'm not. I mean, it's not sufficient for rape. It's not even in a way that contributes to being experiencing being raped. That's what I'm not
Well,
understanding.
obviously it does contribute because, like, if it didn't happen, then like you wouldn't be able to experience it, unless you like mean something entirely like proprietary when you say contribute.
So like, okay, wait. Let's just get clear. So like, if I contribute, what you're saying is like it raises the likelihood of you being raped from 0 to like 1 or something. 1%. Sorry, not one as in this strategy or something. 1%. Like maybe in that sense they're responsible. But like when I speak of responsibility, particularly I'm talking about responsibility in like a moral sense. And
Yeah,
I just don't think a moral connection between you being alive and you being raped, because
yeah.
once again, rape happens independent
Yeah, no,
of
no, no.
the
That's
action
why,
of
like,
you.
you keep switching the word, so it isn't just rips implicator. It's also like the experience. So obviously, under those that sort of view, there is a connection, right? And like what's it called? If we hold to your semantics of responsibility, I just don't think specifically that what's it called? I don't think specifically that you wouldn't be unable to escape the fact that like if I wasn't alive, I wouldn't have experienced being raped. Therefore, I am like morally responsible for that experience, right? I don't see
No,
the
because
relevant distinction between that and like sex.
moral responsibility is connected to the choice that an agent makes, and if that choice leads to an experience of being raped. But I think that it's possible that one could choose to live and not be raped, right? And so, like, if
What did you say specifically? Like, repeat that. Maybe
okay,
I like
okay,
that.
I'll repeat it again. It's like look at cases where we think people are more responsible. It's like maybe if I like punch somebody, or I steal from the store. But like these cases are cases where I like make a free decision, and that free decision leads to an action, or maybe it alongside other decisions that are made freely lead to an action. Right? It's like I choose to do X,
Uh huh.
knowing that X in conjunction with Y, Z, P, whatever, also could here to lead to an outcome. In the case of the rape victim has no control of what other people do. They only have control of what they do. And so why would we say that they're morally responsible for what the other agent chooses to do with them? Maybe they're more responsible for their role to play. Like the agent made a silly choice, they went outside at nighttime, and that's what led to them getting raped. Maybe they're responsible in that sense. I don't think they're more responsible for being raped, though. I think that's like an absurd conclusion.
Hold on, but you said before that they're partially responsible for the action happening to them. Like, so, and maybe you changed your view on it, but specifically, do you not
No,
think?
no.
Hold on, do you not think like okay, what's it called? In cases of like say when sex happens, right? Obviously, I'm not responsible. Say the woman in this case isn't responsible, or she has no control over whether or not the man chooses to ejaculate in her. She also has no control over like all of these other factors, right? Such as whether or not like the protection she uses is effective, right? So all of these things she has no control over, right? Which inevitably end up leading to pregnancy, right? So in these sort of cases, if we say that like, okay, she has no control, like she only has control over what she does, but she doesn't have control over like any of these external factors, so she wouldn't be morally responsible. That's also true in the case of like sex, right? That's true in that case, right? Because most of these instances, these people don't want to get pregnant, but they are getting pregnant. They are taking measures not to get pregnant, yet they are anyway. So the factors that are leading to them getting pregnant are clearly outside of their will and outside their own intentions.
Okay, I'm unclear on what's being said now. He's what you're saying. Look, in the case of the person that's being raped, I can agree that they are raped because of something that happens outside of their control. But then the same is true for the pregnancy, because the pregnancy things that are, outside of the action, the thing that leads to pregnancy also happens outside of your control.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's like what's it called? The things that lead to pregnancy, right? Or like in most of these abortion cases, happen outside of my control, right? But what's it called? If you want to say that, well, there is some factor that's within her control, she could also just have like not had sex. The again, the symmetry there would be that person could have also just chosen to like kill themselves, and then the resulting action or the resulting state of affairs would have taken place. So like that's the
I
symmetry.
mean, I already said that they're partially responsible. It's like obviously the segments of the process that generates pregnancy that are outside of their control are things that they're not going to be responsible for. But they are in fact responsible for the things that were within their control.
Yeah,
Right? Like
so
if we take it to be
you'd
the case,
also say that.
if we take it to be the case, right, that they have sex, and they use protection, and whatnot, and it's pregnancy still in fact happens, they'd just be responsible in a really marginal sense of the word, right? Because they did all of the things that they could control, and majority of the things that occurred were things outside of their control. I think in that sense you would be responsible in the
Yeah,
minimus.
there's two like last things I want to say before we kind of move off of this. So like one again, if you commit to that, you would also have to commit at least to like some sense that any person who does get like experience getting raped is also responsible insofar as they didn't choose to actively end their own life. And if that's true, then there would be okay. What's this? What's this recent guy on, bro? Like actually, what's he
For
on?
no more.
But
But
like
also, yeah, we just need to make a distinction between responsibility and moral responsibility. Like they're responsible, but they're not morally responsible.
so wait, hold on. When you say moral responsibility, what do you mean?
Something that they're culpable for, something that they can be blamed for.
Wait, okay, and yeah, I don't think like in either of those cases you can blame either of them. Like, what I
You
can
don't you
that?
don't think that if I have sex with somebody, no protection at all. I accept that it's like a really real possibility that this person could be pregnant, etc. You don't think that if they do in fact get pregnant, I am in some sense morally
I
responsible for that
think
pregnancy?
it's the same sort of thing you said yourself. I think you can blame them for like I think you can blame them for not taking measures to reduce the likelihood. I think you can blame them in the sense that like the sort of actions they did is not
Oh,
in
okay.
line.
I
Wait,
see what you mean. Yeah, yeah.
oh yeah,
For
I
not
think
doing their due diligence. Yeah,
wait,
I could
well,
agree with that.
wait.
Yeah.
I just want to flesh out. I think you can blame them insofar as they weren't behaving rationally, such that the actions they took is not in line with their goal. But I don't think you can blame them for the state of affairs taking place. Right? I
Yeah,
think also
I can agree with that. Yeah, that's fine.
yeah. So like also I don't think they'd be morally responsible for like pregnancy. But like even if we do say they are morally responsible, do you think the sort of moral responsibility they have is what's it called? Is so like strictly binding such that if like in comparison to say the harm that incurs should she sustain pregnancy such that she has
I mean,
still
like it
has to sustain
depends.
it.
I mean, it depends. Like, okay, think of it like this. So there might be cases where things happen outside of your control, and nonetheless, you're still responsible in some indirect sense for those things, right? So, like, suppose people that drink, right? People that drink and get drunk, they're no longer in compos mentis when they act. They're not in the right states of mind,
Yep.
but nonetheless, they're still culpable for drinking and then doing these things, right? They still have this sort of indirect culpability, at least in the court of law. Just look at DUIs and stuff. Um, and
Well,
so I
I
think the way
mean,
in which I think it's case by case. When the person has sex, do we say that they're morally responsible for the pregnancy? It's obviously like case by case. I think for the most part, they were not rational, like you were saying before. They chose to do these things. They didn't do their due diligence. Then I do think they are, in some sense, responsible for the things that lead to
I
that thing,
mean,
even if. Huh?
yeah. Yeah, I think I disagree with that specifically. So take what's it called? Even if we side back to the core of law, if you weren't in your right state of mind, right? Say when the action took place, if you're like mentally impaired, if you're like under the air of drugs, I don't think people would like. I'm pretty sure you can be declared as like guilty in the same sense somebody who's like rationally taking these actions would be, right? And the reason being is because you're clearly behaving irrationally, right? Such that like and the actions you're taking are clearly like irrational in the sense of your preferences. So take somebody who's like drunk, they go about and they like shoot somebody in the head, right? They are behaving irrationally insofar as like the sort of the end goal they have, which is to like keep themselves safe, not endanger anybody else, is not in line with the sort of actions they take, right? But somebody who says like plans, right, almost because someone who plans to actually like murder somebody, the actions they take, like or the action they take are also like they are rational insofar as like the actions they take also lead to this end goal. So in the same sense of like pregnancy, I don't think most people who get pregnant can be blamed for their pregnancy. For one, and two, I don't think that like even if you could say that they are responsible or morally responsible, I think that these sort of responsibilities are also like binding to a certain extent. I don't think they're like universally binding, such that like say if the mother was experiencing infinite amounts of harm, for example, through sustaining the pregnancy, do you think she'd still be morally unjustified if she had it?
Wait, hold on. Repeat the first thing you said. I mean, I'll give an answer quickly to the second thing. So, was it like if she has this pregnancy, she will suffer infinite amount of harm?
Yeah.
Um, I think you can make a case for her being justified in not having the baby.
What's wrong with this guy?
Lotico, Fafekla, Lotico. But I mean, yeah, I said you could probably make a case, right, like for her being justified. I mean, some deontologists would disagree. I'm a bit more like liberal with my deontological thoughts, so I think yeah, probably.
Yeah,
maybe more like in a strictly moral sense, but I mean, in some other sense.
I mean, I think most people would say like you would be like okay for her to have that like or morally justified, right? But the original thing I said was like okay, the reason why we say these like drunk people are not actually like entirely culpable for the actions they take is because or like the events of their the sort of goals is because like the actions they take, for example, are not in line with their goals, right? So say for example most people don't have goals towards like taking the life of an innocent person, right? So the sort of actions they take, such as drinking and such, isn't in line with such goals, right? So we'd say that they aren't actually culpable or they aren't like entirely to blame for the sort of actions they take. But say somebody
I'm confused. Are you saying when they drink, they do things that are otherwise not in line with their goals?
Yeah, the sort of actions they take are like not in line with their goals. And the goal in this sort of context would be say obviously these people who are drunk, they probably didn't want to say like murder somebody, but they did murder them.
That's like irrelevant.
I mean, I don't understand you. I think that's like entirely analogous to pregnancy. I think that's just a case of like the sort of goals they have, which is to not get pregnant, is not in line with their actions. So I don't think like they are entirely blameworthy.
Look in the US, right? Like in the US, majority of crimes that take place like that lead you to get onto the death penalty are like crimes of passion. They're like crimes where Han's girl cheated on him and like now he's mad, like kills the guy that cheated on him.
Is it?
Or whatever something. Like otherwise he would not have done something. Otherwise he's rational. But like in this specific case, he's like thinking impulsively. He's thinking in line of his emotions. Like that's why he does what he did. Or he did what he did. Most of the death penalty people, most of the people on death row are in death row because of those sorts of crimes.
Yeah, no, I disagree with that too. Like we've already had this conversation.
I can get the empirics. That's like
no, not that. Like I disagree that they're culpable. Like I think like that's also partly one of the reasons why like I disagree with the death penalty. I think that
okay, you disagree that they're culpable. Okay, well
yeah,
I mean, we put this up like a different view. Do you think if I drank a lot of alcohol and then raped your mother, that I would be culpable for what I did?
don't think. Hold on. I think you're culpable insofar as you're the one who did the action, right? But I don't think like I can properly say that you are entirely like.
Should I go to prison?
Oh no, no, you definitely should go to prison. Yeah, because like I think the reason why you would go to prison in those sort of scenarios is because clearly the sort of goals you have, which is to like say not like obviously if you weren't drunk you probably wouldn't have done all of these actions. So like probably the reason why you're in jail is to correct your sort of like rational thought in the sense that the sort of actions you take aren't in line with your goals. So we should probably like put you away, so that like when you come out, your actions will now be in line with your goals.
I see. Um, okay. Personally, I mean, I can see how you have that sort of view.
Yeah.
I think that there's like a distinction that should be made quickly. And that if you still have your intuition, and like that's fine, that's like just an honest difference in intuition.
Yeah.
So like there are two cases. So suppose that in the first case, someone goes to a party and they're given a drink, and they drink it. They're told that it's like soda, fizzy drink, whatever, soft drink. They drink it and then they realize it's like a really heavy drug. And now they're under the influence of the drug and they run over somebody or something. And like in the other case, they go to the party and they are told that it's the drug. And then they drink it, right? So they do it with the knowledge that it's the drug. And they know that, when they're on drugs and stuff like that, they aren't acting well, they're more easily moved to do things that are aggressive and unlike them. And they do the same action. I think in one case, someone's clearly, obviously morally responsible. And like in the other case, someone's very obviously not morally responsible. What do you think?
I mean, I think in those sort of cases, you could say again, like they are partly responsible morally, but I think that say in the analogy you gave, if they both in those instances don't have goals towards like act trying to murder you, right? Then this sort of like I think I'd accuse the second person of being irrational, and they'd be morally responsible in the sense that their irrationality led to like a bad thing happening. But I don't think they are morally responsible for the action per se. It would be like okay, I think that you would be morally responsible if like you drank and you know that okay, like so say for example there's a crime you want to do, you know that if drinking will make you more likely to do the crime, right? So that you get rid of all your inhibitions towards doing it, right? And you drink. I think in those sort of contexts you're completely morally responsible because both your goals and your actions are like pointing in the same direction. But in the other case, your goals clearly point the other direction, and your actions point towards it. So I'd accuse them of being irrational per se, right? But like my question is like how would you answer like, or specifically how do you determine whether or not say the fetus's like right to life or something or right to bodily autonomy supersedes the amount of harm that's done to the mother, right, in the case of like pregnancy?
Yes, I mean, look, I don't think rights are something that can be measured quantitatively. I think that it doesn't make sense to say that the right of one person overrides the right of another. And like in the same case, I think it doesn't make any sense to violate someone else's rights to preserve another person's rights, because the whole point of rights is that they're meant to be violated. And so when you violate somebody's rights, you're basically saying that this person's rights for some reason are not inviolable, but yours are. It's kind of,
I
guess,
mean, yeah, I get what you mean, but okay, do you think that like say if I'm charging at you with like both of you and I are both humans, but you and I both have a right to life, and I'm charging at you, right? And then also called, and then immediately like I say I shoot you to stop you from like killing me. Both of us still have a right to life, but like my right to life in that sort of context overrides yours, and because nobody will obviously accuse me of doing something immoral insofar as like say I violated one right of yours. And the reason being would be because like say the amount of harm that would be incurred to you, right, through me stabbing you is not high enough such that I can now like allow my own rights to be violated. In the same sort of sense that I think that if somebody is like running up to you with intent to cut off your arm and your arm alone, I think I'm allowed to like kill that person, even though I'm doing more harm to the person than they would do to me, and even though I am violating his rights, right? Because I think that like, there are certain extents of harm that need to be met for you to like override specific rights, if you get what I mean.
well, I mean, I think that humanity, like being a human, is necessary for having these rights that we're speaking of. And I think that in most cases it's sufficient, but I don't think that people, like, okay, take for example, people in prisons, right? You put people in prisons all the time. That's seemingly a violation of their autonomy. I don't think so. I think that people in prison don't have the rights, at least in the moral sense, right? They might have it in some like non-moral sense, but not in a moral sense. I think once you make a decision to override someone else's rights, you've sort of lost your defense protection under the moral law.
Do you think that like if I drug you, say for example I drug you and you go out and you start like mass murdering people, that would be wrong for me to say like kill you to stop you from like committing the crime again. Because like I'll address the other thing now before you give your response. So like in the case of prisons, I think even though I would grant that you probably are violating their bodily autonomy, but the sort of harm that's like incurred if you do not violate this right is drastically higher, such that I feel as if it's like above the sort of threshold that need to be needed for me to violate your rights. So I think that rights are binding up until a specific point. So that's why I would also say, even though I am incurring like more harm if I cut off your arm, or if I like kill you to stop you from cutting off my arm, right? I'm incurring more harm, but the reason why that's fine is because I still have that right. But that right is only binding up until a certain point. And I think that in the case of prisons, like clearly the sort of harm that would be incurred if you like let all of them go is be way beyond that specific point.
I mean, we might be saying the same thing. I just think the rights only apply to people that are acting rationally. Like the same conclusion is reached.
What do you mean, like when you say people that act irrationally? Like, wait, do you mean like wait, okay? Do you mean like they only have human rights if they're acting rationally?
They only have protection under the moral law if they're acting rationally.
Wait, but like what's it called? Fetuses are incapable of acting. Like, so do you think they like under that view they wouldn't have rights?
No, that's under the scenario that you were giving. Right? So like when you were trying to attack somebody.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you think so? Like if you have sentience, like so for your right to be violated or for you to have like rights, say you're a sentient entity, you need to A be like be sentient, B be acting rationally.
No, so in the cases of self-defense, in the cases of prison time, in the cases where we overstep on other people's rights, they must have been overstepping on other people's rights. And to me, that's the act irrationally. So in those cases where they are acting irrationally by overstepping on other people's rights, we have the right to violate their right because we have a duty to prevent other people from violating others' rights.
Wait,
right,
what did you say?
Wait,
what did you say?
Right, but okay, so the categorical comparative, you universalize certain prescriptions, right? You see there's a contradiction. Like suppose there's a prescription that says, we should not allow others to violate the rights of anyone, right? Or to like unjustifiedly, I guess, or something. If you universalize that, you wouldn't even have the autonomy to make that decision because everybody's violating everybody's rights. And so we have some duty to stop people from violating other people's rights. And I'm saying, if there is somebody that's violating someone else's rights, then that person's acting irrationally, based on my view. And so it would just be trivial to say that this person isn't protected under moral law because the moral law is for rational agents. Also, one second.
Hit the code heat.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm getting 2-tier gapped right now, so no, I'm a low tier.
Yeah.
I'm a low tier. Yo, Rizwan, remember how like C's tier 1 and I'm like a lowly tier 4 bum? Okay, yeah. Still on that side.
C's tier 1. You're like tier 2, high tier 2.
C is ranked off like theology, right?
Yeah, C's mostly theology, but like he's ranked off of other things as well. His codewell performance.
What'd you say?
His codewell performance, his Apollo performance, his synth performance.
Yeah, man. Where's my Shinra performance? Oh, just baby.
I mean, the thing is that you kind of lost momentum.
I just stopped debating, bro. Like, leave me alone.
Yeah, that's why you lost momentum. Should have kept debating.
Goodbye.
Thing happened with Yanni, like Yanni's washed kinda. He's like high tier 3. Like before you could try and get him to tier 2, but like he's washed. Like he's tier 3, high tier 3. Same with Shikyo, like Shikyo used to be consensus like tier 3. I saw people put him Shikyo in like tier 2, but now it's like tier 4. Some people even put him in high tier 5.
That's because of Sakazuki. Sakazuka. Sakapuki.
Yeah. I don't know why Sakazuki hates Shikyo. I don't think it's like, I don't think it makes sense to say I'm washed when I've never consistently debated before.
No, I think that
You
yeah, the
lost to me,
best
Spry.
streak has just been you losing recently.
Yeah, you lost to me, Spry. Like,
Moose was months ago. It was like so long ago.